Nigeria, a nation built to fail. Imagine three very different countries: Afghanistan, the United States, and Russia. Not just geographically different, but worlds apart in culture, politics, and ways of life. Now picture someone deciding to draw their borders side by side, and then claiming 70% of that combined landmass as one country, calling it Afghanistan, and handing it permanent control over the military and parliament. The remaining 30% split between the United States and Russia. Ask yourself, would that country last a year, a month? This isn't just about putting different people in one space. It's forcing incompatible worlds to run as one. This is Nigeria. Back in 1914, the British did exactly this. They took a handful of peoples, each with their own unique histories, political systems and societies, and forced them into a colonial entity called Nigeria. Efficiency was the goal. What happened to the people didn't matter. They divided Nigeria into three large regions: the northern, western, and eastern regions. Each region had local leaders and control of some resources, but all had to pay taxes to a central government. The British economic foothold was clear. They controlled major export markets like cocoa, groundnuts, and palm oil, plus banking and trade networks. Their aim? Keep influence over these assets by shaping the political system. The British proposed a parliamentary system that required a 2/3 majority to make national decisions. But here's the catch. They handed about 75% of Nigeria's land and roughly 70% of its parliamentary seats to the north. That huge and culturally diverse northern region, home to dozens of different groups, was given dominant political power. So, in practice, the North could push through any law without needing anyone else's consent. The military was likewise structured to mirror this dominance. Whoever controls both parliament and the military controls everything. By design, that was the North. And above it all, Britain pulled the strings quietly, anchoring their post-independence influence. Why favor the North? To understand this, we need to look closer at these groups. The House of Fulani in the north, governed through centralized top-down authority with emirs at the top. Control the leaders and you control everyone. The Igbo in the southeast operated a republican system. No single ruler, power shared and debated widely. The Yoruba in the southwest had a democratic monarchy. Kings ruled, but with councils and public opinion keeping them in check. For Britain, working with the North was simple. Centralized power meant fewer players and easier control. The other regions posed far more complicated, decentralized systems, harder to manage remotely. This set the stage for a system that wasn't built for unity or fairness. It was built for control. After independence, tensions and turmoil, Britain's structural injustice didn't just fade away, it exploded. Officers, mostly from the southeast, staged a coup, toppling northern leaders. The north struck back with a counter-coup. Violence spilled beyond the barracks into the streets. When Igbo civilians faced brutal attacks in the north, the eastern region decided to break away as Biafra. The northern-dominated Nigerian government refused, and a devastating civil war erupted. After 3 years of bloody conflict, Biafra was defeated, but the damage lasted. To prevent future coups and wars, Nigeria's military government introduced a presidential system with weaker regions and a powerful center. The central government took over almost all revenue and redistributed it based on the number of states and local governments, of which the North had more. This created a perverse incentive. Instead of rewarding productivity, the system rewarded population size. Regions became dependent on federal funds, and the president, elected by popular vote, benefited from larger populations. To understand this better, imagine Elon Musk and Mark, a minimum wage worker, decide to pool their incomes and split them evenly every year. Elon makes $100 million. Mark makes $40,000. Ignoring Mark's smaller share, they split $100 million equally. So Elon ends up with $50 million. What incentive does Elon have to work harder? He's losing half his earnings. Mark? Why bother putting in more effort when Elon carries the load? Here's the twist. Decisions about Elon's companies happen by one person, one vote, counting family members too. Mark's best move isn't inventing or innovating, it's multiplying. More wives, more kids, more votes. Eventually, Mark's family outvotes Elon. Innovation collapses, not because people are lazy, but because the system punishes effort and rewards numbers. This logic captures Nigeria's system. The Almajiri crisis. A human cost. Resources that once belonged to regions were seized by the federal government. Federal money was handed out according to the number of local governments and states. Northern Nigeria embraced this system by investing heavily in religious education and promoting large families. Many of these children joined the Almajiri system, traditional Islamic schools that once represented scholarship and learning. But poverty has transformed them into something darker. Meet Ibrahim. He's 9 years old. Every morning, he wakes up on a mat he shares with 7 other boys in a cramped room in Kano. There's no breakfast. His teacher sends him and the others into the streets with a bowl. Go find your food, they're told. So Ibrahim begs. He spends his day moving through traffic, knocking on car windows, holding out his bowl. On good days, he gets rice. On bad days, he goes hungry. At night, he returns to recite Quranic verses he's memorized, often without understanding what they mean, because he's never been taught to read or write. Ibrahim is one of 10 to 20 million Almajiri children across northern Nigeria. That's more than the entire population of Sweden. Uneducated, unemployed, abandoned by a system that counted them for political power but provided nothing for their futures. These children become tools during elections. Despite constitutional voting ages of 18, there are documented reports of much younger children, sometimes as young as 6, casting ballots in some northern areas. They vote as directed, often not understanding what they're participating in. But the darker reality is what happens when they grow up. With no education, no skills, and no hope, these young people become prime targets for extremist groups. Boko Haram, whose name literally means Western education is forbidden, recruits from this pool of desperate youth. The teenager who spends his childhood begging, who never learned a trade, who has no path to a dignified life. What does he do when someone offers him purpose, belonging, and a weapon? This isn't just a humanitarian crisis. It's a pipeline feeding Nigeria's security nightmare. Kidnappings, bombings, insurgency. The same system that created these children for political advantage is now reaping violence from their desperation. Two paths forward. Nigeria's population is around 230 million and growing by about 5 million every year. That's a new Finland added annually. The problem isn't the number, it's what this population depends on. Oil and gas, which don't scale with population. Low-yield traditional farming, unable to feed rapidly growing numbers. No country as large as Nigeria survives on oil alone. Only science, technology, and innovation scale fast enough to support such explosive growth. Nigeria, unfortunately, is far from ready for this transition. Theoretically, Nigeria has two options. Option 1, population control, something like a two-child policy. But this is politically impossible. Population equals political power here. Any politician suggesting birth limits would be accused of cultural genocide, attacked as anti-religion, and voted out immediately. In northern Nigeria especially, where large families are both cultural norm and political strategy, this is a non-starter. Option 2, technology and education investment. The only realistic path, rapidly scale productivity through innovation, manufacturing, and skills. But here's the catch. Southern states don't have the funds. They're subsidizing northern dependency through the federal allocation system. Meanwhile, federal institutions maintain regional quotas that sometimes prioritize balance over merit. A recent report showed that in entrance exams for an elite federal school, a student from southern Nigeria needed to score 134 out of 150 to qualify, while a student from certain northern states needed just 2 out of 150. Imagine trying to build a tech economy when your education system works like that. The clock is ticking. Time is running out. Nigeria's resources, food, jobs, infrastructure cannot keep pace with its population growth. This is exactly what economist Thomas Malthus warned about centuries ago. When population growth outstrips resource growth, society collapses into conflict. We're already seeing it. Farmer-herder conflicts that kill thousands yearly. Boko Haram and ISIS insurgencies. Epidemic kidnappings for ransom. Mass unemployment driving young people to crime. These aren't random problems. They're predictable outcomes of a system that rewards the wrong things. The real problem, the corruption, violence, and dysfunction we see today aren't the disease. They're symptoms. They all flow from a broken foundation. A union designed to concentrate power over contribution, reward population over productivity, and sustain political dominance instead of innovation. Trying to fix Nigeria without fixing this foundation is like building the Burj Khalifa on cracked ground. No matter the resources or skill, failure is inevitable. So what does the future hold? The pessimistic view. Nigeria continues on this trajectory. Population explodes to 400 million by 2050. Resources run out faster. Violence intensifies. The state fragments, not through planned reform, but through violent collapse. The realistic view. Nigeria muddles through. Oil revenues buy temporary stability. Some regions develop despite the system, not because of it. The country limps forward, never reaching its potential, always one crisis away from breaking. The optimistic view. Nigerians force real reform. Not the surface-level anti-corruption campaigns that change nothing, but fundamental restructuring. True federalism that lets regions keep more of what they produce. Merit-based systems in education and government. Massive investment in schools. Not just religious education, but science, technology, skills, political courage to have honest conversations about population and resources. This third path is possible. Nigeria has incredible human capital, brilliant entrepreneurs, world-class creatives, innovative engineers. Nigerians succeed everywhere they go: London, New York, Dubai, Lagos. The problem has never been the people. It's always been the system. In summary, Nigeria's problems stem from structural flaws left by colonial design, then worsened by post-independence choices that rewarded numbers over merit and centralized power at the expense of fairness and innovation. This foundation can be fixed, but it requires courage to face uncomfortable truths. Yet today, political correctness and ethnic sensitivities often prevent honest diagnosis. Here's the bottom line. If you designed the United States with Nigeria's system, America would not be a superpower. It would be struggling exactly like Nigeria. The question isn't whether Nigeria can succeed. It's whether Nigerians will demand the structural changes that make success possible. Because right now, Nigeria isn't failing because of bad luck or bad people. It's failing because it was built to fail. And only Nigerians can rebuild it.